Okay, so we got a ton of requests from you guys to do a deep dive into burnout.
Hmm.
And I think, honestly, who hasn't felt that, like, just utter and complete drain, like that kind of exhaustion that even sleep just doesn't touch?
Totally.
So we're doing it.
Mm.
Today is all about burnout.
Awesome.
We've been going through some fascinating discussions that really break down what burnout is,
Right.
what causes it, and most importantly, what we can actually do about it.
Love it.
So have you, and I think this is probably going to be a lot of people,
Yeah.
have you ever just felt that like deep tiredness that just won't go away? Like no matter how much you sleep,
Mhm.
you're just,
Yeah.
yeah, or even maybe like a little bit of negativity kind of creeping into things that you'd normally enjoy,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
like hobbies or whatever.
Every time.
This could be signs of burnout.
Ah.
And it's something that can be like surprisingly difficult to recognize in ourselves.
Absolutely.
So our goal today, we're going beyond that, like, oh, I'm just feeling a little rundown or whatever.
We want to really get into the mechanisms of what burnout is
We're sure.
and give you some practical things that you can actually use.
Yeah.
So, first off, let's just start at the top. What is burnout?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because I feel like there's this kind of general idea of it,
Uh-huh.
but what is it really? Because it's got to be more than just feeling tired, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's way more than just needing a good night's sleep. There's this whole intricate, like interplay of factors that go into it.
Right.
So
Okay.
Christina Maslach, who is like a big researcher in this field,
Yeah.
she kind of defines burnout by these three dimensions.
Okay.
One, being overwhelmed with exhaustion, like that's the big one.
Okay.
Two, this development of cynicism or detachment from your work.
Gotcha.
And then three, this like reduced sense of accomplishment or feeling ineffective.
Interesting. So it's really like a trifecta of badness.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking more than just like physical fatigue here.
Definitely.
There's some serious mental and emotional stuff.
Totally.
What would be some signs of this then that, people might recognize in themselves or others?
What, I think one is that constant brain fog,
Oh, yeah.
where you just can't think clearly. Things are moving slow.
Like trying to run through mud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another one is just this lack of motivation
Okay.
where, even the smallest tasks, they feel super difficult, overwhelming.
It's like climbing a mountain just to do the dishes.
Exactly, yeah. And you might find yourself just feeling really emotionally checked out, just going through the motions, not really present.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and of course there's that hardcore exhaustion where even if you get like a full 8 hours, you wake up feeling like a zombie.
Oh, man. I've been there.
Yeah, it's like your body's there, but your mind and emotions are just gone.
And that's where the burnout really
Yeah.
is.
The scary thing is,
Yeah.
when you're that exhausted,
Hmm.
it starts to chip away at your confidence.
Oh, I see. Okay. You start doubting yourself, you become cynical, and then that just feeds into feeling even more ineffective. It's like this awful spiral.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like being on autopilot, but the pilot's asleep and the plane is on fire. You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's no good outcome there.
That's a really, really vivid image.
Yeah. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, not at all. And that's another thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
The way that burnout, it doesn't just like happen overnight.
Oh, absolutely not. It's this like sneak attack.
It is. Yeah.
It builds up so gradually, bit by bit, like adding more and more weight until, you can't even stand up straight.
Right. And that's what makes it so hard to identify in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly adapting, you're pushing through.
Pushing.
You tell yourself, oh, it's just temporary, or this week is crazy, but next week will be better.
Right.
But really, all your resources are just like depleting,
Yeah.
and you don't even really realize it.
It's like that camel with the straws on its back.
Yes.
One more,
Yeah.
boom, you're done.
Yeah.
Break.
And so let's talk about those straws. What are the things that are adding up
Right.
to eventually lead to burnout?
So I think one of the biggest ones, and I'm sure everyone listening can relate,
For sure.
is work overload.
Uh-huh.
When your job is just constantly demanding more than you can handle.
You're always behind.
Yeah, constantly juggling too many things.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not always just about the amount of work, right?
Right.
It's also about that or the lack of work-life balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see this like perfect picture of work-life balance in movies and
I
stuff.
was going to say, like in every rom-com,
Yeah, exactly.
everyone has the amazing job and they're always going out with friends. They're never stressed.
But in real life, it's so different.
It is.
You end up checking work emails after dinner,
Right.
and then suddenly it's midnight and you're still working.
Yeah.
That constant connection, it just blurs the lines.
Yeah.
It's hard to switch off.
You never actually get to rest. And then on top of that, there's the whole lack of recognition thing.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
When you're putting in all this effort
Uh-huh.
and you're working hard, but no one seems to notice or care.
Yeah.
It's like you're the Wi-Fi.
Huh. I love that.
Everyone needs you,
Right.
but they only realize it when you stop working.
Exactly. You're taken for granted.
Yeah, so you're constantly giving without getting anything back.
Uh-huh.
That's definitely going to lead to burnout.
Big time.
And then I think it's important to consider, too, the pressure that we put on ourselves, like those unrealistic expectations.
Oh, sure.
The higher we set the bar, the more we feel like we have to constantly be performing.
Yeah.
And then we feel bad when we inevitably don't live up to it.
And, seeing everyone else seemingly killing it,
Yeah.
that just makes it worse.
It's hard not to compare yourself, even when you know you shouldn't.
It's human nature, I think.
Totally.
And then there's the whole, working in a toxic environment thing.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be tough.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
All that negativity, the bad vibes, it just drains you.
You don't even realize it's happening either. Like, it's just this, like, slow poison.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about some of the stuff that causes burnout,
Mhm.
which I think for a lot of people is probably familiar.
Definitely.
Maybe even a little too familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we actually do about it?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, because just knowing what it is isn't enough.
Totally.
We need some actual things that we can put into practice.
Absolutely. I think the most basic, but also maybe the most important, is prioritizing actual rest.
Okay.
And I don't mean just like, zoning out in front of the TV or scrolling
Right.
on your phone.
Yeah, the fake rest.
Exactly. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
We need real, genuine downtime for our brains to recover.
So what does that look like?
It means turning off notifications,
Okay.
putting down the phone, stepping away from screens.
So basically like a digital detox?
Kinda, yeah. You got to let your mind truly unwind.
Okay, I can see that.
So things like going for a walk,
Hmm.
reading an actual book,
Yeah,
a physical book,
right.
or even just sitting in silence for a few minutes.
So it's about actively doing things to rest.
Yeah, it's not just about being still. It's about disengaging from all those stressors.
Gotcha, okay.
And that can be harder than it sounds.
It can, yeah. What about when it feels like you literally can't take a break? Like
No.
work is just too demanding.
That's where boundaries come in.
Okay.
You have to learn to say no, even when it's hard.
Because there's that thing of like,
Uh,
if I rest, I'm just going to fall behind.
I know, right?
It's like this impossible choice.
But, there's this idea that resting means you're lazy or unproductive.
Right.
But actually, it's the opposite.
Okay.
When you're constantly overworked, you actually make more mistakes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, your brain just can't function at its best.
Yeah.
So setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's actually protecting your ability to do good work.
So it's kind of like preemptively stopping burnout.
Exactly. If you don't set boundaries, burnout will set them for you, but in a much worse way.
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
So yeah, rest is crucial.
Okay, so we're setting boundaries, we're prioritizing rest.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do?
Well, sometimes saying no just isn't an option,
Oh, I know that feeling.
But in those cases, we can try to work smarter, not just harder.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means moving away from that hustle mentality
Right.
and finding a more sustainable pace.
Okay, give me an example.
So have you heard of the Pomodoro technique?
I have.
So it's basically working in focused intervals,
Okay.
like 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off.
Right.
And those little breaks, they actually help you stay sharp and focused.
Really?
Yeah, and it prevents that feeling of crashing at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's about finding a rhythm that works for you.
I like that.
Focus, rest, repeat.
Okay, so that's for work.
Mm-hmm.
What about stuff outside of work?
Right, so self-care is super important.
Oh, yeah. I hear that all the time.
But it has to be more than just like scrolling through memes or watching TV.
Oh, so it's like real self-care.
Yes, exactly.
What would that look like?
It's about finding things that truly bring you joy,
Okay.
like spending time in nature,
Uh-huh.
maybe picking up a hobby,
Yeah.
spending time with loved ones,
Okay.
anything that helps you recharge and disconnect.
So it's about filling your cup, not just ignoring it.
Precisely.
Okay, so all of this is super helpful.
Yeah.
But what if the burnout is already really bad?
Right.
Like, what if these things just don't feel like enough?
That's when it's time to call in the professionals.
Okay.
A therapist, a coach, someone who can give you personalized support.
It can be hard to ask for help, though.
It can, but sometimes it's exactly what you need.
I guess so.
Yeah, and don't worry about the cost.
Okay.
Think of it as an investment in your well-being.
I like that.
And these experts, they can give you strategies that actually work.
Right. Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out.
Okay. What about just connecting with other people in general?
Yeah, that's huge too.
I can imagine.
Especially in this digital age.
Yeah,
We got to make time for real face-to-face interaction.
that's true.
Even if it's just, a quick coffee with a friend or a phone call with family,
Right.
it makes a difference.
And what about with coworkers?
Oh, that's actually a great point.
Is it?
Yeah, because they understand the specific stresses you're facing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's like free therapy.
Uh-huh. Kinda.
So yeah, vent to your coworkers, join a support group,
Okay.
anything that reminds you that you're not alone in this.
It's so easy to feel isolated when you're burnt out.
It really is.
So to sum up, it sounds like burnout is basically this long-term stress that's just sucking the life out of you
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
on every level.
Absolutely.
And those boundaries and breaks, they're not optional.
They're essential.
We need them to function.
Exactly.
And we can't just ignore the signs of burnout.
Right. If you're feeling it, do something about it.
Yeah, ask for help.
Exactly.
Don't try to go it alone.
Yeah. Like they say, suffering alone is overrated.
It really is.
So remember,
Yeah.
burnout isn't just being tired.
Right.
It's way more than that.
It's like a whole body exhaustion.
Exactly.
And it's fueled by all this unmanaged stress.
Mm-hmm.
Overworking, lack of balance, feeling unappreciated.
Yeah.
Even just being around negativity.
It all adds up.
It does.
So the first step is recognizing the signs.
Yes.
And then we can start putting those strategies into practice.
Exactly.
Rest, boundaries, working smarter, self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's so important.
It is.
So as you're thinking about all of this,
Yeah.
think about what's that one big straw in your life right now?
Uh-huh.
What's that thing that's adding the most stress?
Good question.
And what's one small thing you can do this week to change it?
Yeah.
Even a tiny step can make a huge difference.
You can.
It's about building a more balanced and fulfilling life.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into burnout,
It was my pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
See you then.